All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakaha Kodash. A double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. So I have several articles concerning job losses and job cuts due to artificial intelligence, also known as AI or artificial idumia, man. And this first one, it reads, it says, banks prepare for sweeping job cuts as artificial intelligence reshapes the finance sector. Right. So this not only affects, the people that are currently working in the finance sector, but this, also concerns all of those college graduates, right, that are in the finance major, right? We understand AI ultimately taking jobs, and it's a spirit the Lord allowed me to do two, separate videos, one on AI taking blue collar jobs and another on AI taking white collar jobs. And this in particular being a white collar industry, right? The bankers, right? And not the top banking families who are actually controlling the economic collapse, right? Who are engineering the economic collapse, but more so their their workforce underneath them, right? It says, according to a Bloomberg report, major banks are actively laying the groundwork for significant workforce reductions as they accelerate the adoption of AI across operations. Entry-level positions, along a gateway into the industry, are shrinking sharply, even as firms draw AI expertise from the same talent pools. Now, this is the thing, right? If they're saying that they're going to get rid of entry-level positions, that means those who aren't in the field have no chance of entering into the field, right? Because always says that, hey, once you graduate, you need a certain level of experience. Well, how do you expect to get this certain level of experience if these entry-level positions are taken away, right? Okay, and say, oh well, you should have got um uh, what you call it, a internship, right, during your schooling. Well, guess what, the AI is taking away the point, or is taking away the position to even need an internship, right? Well, why would it need a younger workforce when AI can do what an intern can do, and it can be 100%, or I should say far more accurate, right? It'll be no need for the next group of graduates. It says aspiring finance professionals like Andre Bonick, a student at the University of Warwick, are already confronting AI at the earliest stages of the hiring process, right? Because this is where it affects you. It says Bonick spends hours rehearsing responses optimized for keywords from job listings and maintaining eye contact, only to face initial screenings conducted by AI powered software rather than human recruiters. And one thing that I heard today from a chiropractor, he's basically saying that he, knows a guy in the industry that's a hiring manager for firms. And one thing he said is that you know, about 5 years ago there was a 25 to 35% chance that people were conducting their interviews with AI or artificial intelligence, whether it was the bot moving their face and generating words based off the questions that the hiring team was given, or just a complete rendered video, live rendered video, while the hiring manager is giving forth these questions, right? So even the people who are what you call it, even the people who are submitting their job applications and getting interviews, they're using AI in order to try to strike a position, man, right? So it's really no getting away from the system, which shows you that this is the new age in which the scriptures talk about that. The Revelation 13 chapter, man, right? The new industrial revolution, which bridges man with machine, the technocracy, artificial intelligence, all part of the image of the beast, and ultimately ushering down or funneling down to the point where people are going to have to get that MOTB, right? But this shows you that there's actually no hope for the people of Egypt, man, right? So we're going to read that in the book of Isaiah, the 19th chapter. And I'll start at the top. It says Isaiah 19 at the top, first verse. It says, the burden of Egypt. Behold, the Lord Yahweh rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt. And the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Right? And we understand Yahweh Shai, as the scripture says, according to the book of Revelation, the first chapter, the 7th verse, he cometh, or it's like, behold, he cometh with the clouds, and every eye shall see him, yea, even those that pierced him. Understanding Yahweh Shai is going to come back with the host of heaven, the angels, and the chariots, right? It says, and shall come to Egypt, And Revelation 11:8 tells us that what? America is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, right? It says, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I'll set Egyptians against the Egyptians, right? And that's the modern day Babylonian versus the modern day Babylonian, man. Whether it's E versus E, whether it's E against Jake, whether it's Moab against Jake or Moab against E, right? All the civil unrest that the scriptures speak about is going to happen here, right? And worldwide, because the Lord isn't just stirring up controversy and hell only in Babylon the Great. No, it's going to touch every place in the world, right? It says, and I'll set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and that's why you're seeing the love of many wax cold. It says, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. And the scriptures tell us, right, if Satan be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand, right? So we see this division is ultimately going to lead or further the collapse of Babylon the Great. This is the point here. It says, it's like it's 12. 1 second. I'm going to jump down after I read this verse here. Because I could go into 8, read down into 8. But I'll read this part. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, right? The wise men of Edom. It says, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards, right? Because he has prophets, and witches, that conjure up certain spirits and are able to give him, certain understandings for the things to come, man. But ultimately, like in the time of Egypt, when Moses and Aaron came with the miracles of Yahweh Bashim Shai, and those works were done in the spirit of the Lord, guess what? Yahweh Bashim Shai allowed some Pharaoh's magi to do some of those same miracles, but on the left-hand side. And we understand that ultimately, guess what? The right is stronger than the left. This continuing, going into the work failing for Egypt. Verse 4 and 5, it says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. And the waters shall fail from the sea, and the rivers shall be wasted and dried up. And they shall turn the rivers far away, and the brooks of defense shall be emptied and dried up. The reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brook, by the mouth of the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn, right? So your fishermen, right? It says they shall mourn, right? Now, let me see. Yep. It says, and the fishers also shall mourn, and all that cast angle into the brook shall lament, and they shall spread nets upon the waters. And they that spread nets upon the waters shall languish. Moreover, they that work in fine flax, right? Your textile industries, right? Your textile industries, your fishing industries, they're all failing, man. Right? Esau is finding a way either to automate them, right? Or he's messing up the environment so much that the profit that they would usually get from utilizing the waters or certain fabrics, right? That industry is being broken down. Now, when we go further down into the 15th verse, and it reads, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do, right? So the head or tail, branch or rush, whether it be the blue collar class, the white collar workers, the blue collar workers, right? It says there shall be no work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you're going to be affected by the AI push that Esau is spreading across the earth, man. It don't matter whether you're working in the fast food industry, to where you're a banker, to whether you're an engineer, to whether you're a lawyer, right? All these positions, AI can do it essentially, man. Right? To the point where the markets of these jobs are going to be cut, 80-90%. You don't have to believe it, just watch. We don't care if you don't believe. But the scriptures say what's about to happen. Right? So going back to this article, it says top executives have been blunt about the coming changes. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon stated that the technology will eliminate jobs. There it is, right? See, they don't believe when Yahweh Shem Shai's men tell you, hey, but when the rich man speaketh, hey, they'll believe it. He literally said it. Technology will eliminate jobs. Meaning what? Your pockets are going to be hurt. And guess what? You can't afford, a missing check. You can't afford to go out of work, right? Because it then puts you in a bind. Citigroup CEO Jane Fraser noted that some roles will no longer be required, while Goldman Sachs president John Waldron described traditional operations as a human assembly line ready for automation, meaning what? Robots is about to step in, right? So these are some of the top banks in the States, man. JP Morgan Chase, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, some of the top finance industries or finance role players, man, are telling you, guess what? We're cutting. Standard Chartered CEO Bill Winters framed this shift starkly. It is not cost cutting, it is replacing, in some cases, lower value human capital with the financial capital and investment capital we are putting in. He later apologized because what? He's talking about his workforce. But guess what? It ain't shit they can do about it. They can be mad that he said it, but guess what? That don't stop the fact that their jobs are going to be taken away. Banks are reportedly cutting junior analysts hiring classes by as much as 2/3. That's 66%. So I also want to speak on this, right? A junior analyst is what? A person that just got into the field from what? College. This is a college graduate position. Anything that has the word junior in it, whether it be junior designer, junior analyst, right? These are all college graduate positions, man. So we already talk about the competition that these college graduates are having to go into, right? They're not only competing against their own graduating class, but they're competing against, people who have had experience in the field already. So why would they then be hired, right, with no prior work experience over a person who had and put in 10 or 5, 10, 15 years into the field and they're struggling to get a position? On top of AI trying to take, or not trying, on top of AI being merged into these industries and cutting experienced and knowledgeable individuals out of the force, man. So it just leaves you with what? It leaves you with all them school loans, all that debt, while sourcing about 62% of their AI talent from those same groups, right? And that's the same thing with all these computer science. One thing I always used to say, hey, you're majoring in computer science, you're a fool, right? Yeah, you're gonna have certain computer science students get into fields and be able to work on, coding and so forth and so on. But guess what? You're working on a system that's eventually going to replace you. You're working on a system that's directly going to replace you. It says graduate intakes are expected to shrink, meaning what? Those that graduate, the number of individuals who submit applications in the field, the number of them that are actually brought into firms are going to shrink. It says though not disappear entirely yet, but it will, as the industry views junior roles as essential apprenticeships for developing future leaders. But guess what? They may only pick up, okay, say, we understand it's 2 semesters in college. Well, I say 3 because you got summer, fall, or it's like it. You got fall, winter, or fall, spring, and summer. All right, some colleges offer winter. Nevertheless, it's primarily 2, right? So just cut the year in half, 6 months in the beginning, 6 months in the end. You have hundreds of college students applying to internships, right? It may only be 2 to 3 positions open for internships for each quote unquote firm. Let's just say that. And that's a lot because it's usually not that much, and every firm isn't hiring, especially when you get into the entities, the local entities, right? For example, here in Las Vegas, LVVWD, COH, CLV, NDOT, so forth and so on, right? All these different entities, man. Right? It's harder to get into those positions unless you know somebody and they have strong enough ties to bring you in. Nevertheless, say there's only 2 or 3 per firm. Well, AI is going to take away one of them positions, right? Because that system has to learn all the coding from, experienced engineer, and basically it's going to be a trial run instead of bringing the actual person on. So just say it's 10 firms, only 20 out of 100 or 200 or 300 graduating, those that are majoring or graduating in that field will be brought in, man. Less than 10%. So the industry is cutting even individuals who've worked their ass off in school in order to get a position in the field. This is the future of America, right? This is the future, man. Trade, especially now, getting into a trade is far better than a college education. Especially if it's not in the STEM field, don't even go. If it's not a STEM major, don't even go, because it'll be no point. And even in the STEM field, you have to be careful, and know what the job market is looking like. But nevertheless, the job market everywhere is going to be automated in some form or fashion, man. Right? So when we finish this here in Isaiah 19 and 15, it tells us, neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. We already seen how E basically said that nursing degrees, how he less, right? How he did nurses during the 1-9. It's evident that E is showing you that he don't care about nobody here, right? The elite are the greedy niggards, and guess what? They want to heap everything into themselves. So if it means cutting out that bottom line so that they make more profit, and the American people got to hurt more, then guess what? They're completely fine with that. This is Ecclesiastes 12:1. It says, remember now that created in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, right? And these are your individuals on Wall Street, your bankers. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, right? The work. And those that look out the windows be darkened. And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Let's read. I'm gonna finish this in the KJV and then read it in NLT. It says, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. When we read this in the NLT, it says, remember him before the door to life's opportunities is closed, and the sound of work fades. And that's exactly what we're in the midst of seeing, the sound of work fading, right? Because the grinding represented in the ancient days or in the ancient times, women were always, for example, our custom, right? We always had fresh bread. That was part of the custom of Israel, right? You always had women at the grinding mills grinding what? Fresh grain, right? Or dried grain, I should say. Dried grain in order to make bread for the day, right? So seeing or hearing the grinding ceasing or the grinding low shows that there was a decrease in supply for that bread to be made, right? Which showed what? It showed the severity of the times that we're in, because grain is something that was inexpensive, yet it was a substance, right? Because you could stretch it, you know, it was always readily available until a famine hit, of course. But nevertheless, it was a common occurrence to hear that grinding, much like it's a common occurrence to see people driving or in 9 to 5 traffic, man. Right? Every city has this what? It has this rush hour when everybody goes to work, and it has the same rush hour when everybody gets off. Right? That's a common occurrence. But now you're seeing work fade, right? You're seeing people crash out on their way to work because they don't have enough money or gas to get to work, right? You're having people make the decision of whether to eat or whether to pay their bills. This is the severity of what's happening right now. If the men you're listening to aren't teaching these things, you're following the wrong individuals through the spirit, man. You should not, any prophet prophesying of peace right now is a false prophet. The Lord ain't bringing peace right now. As the book of Ecclesiastes says, there's a season for everything, a time for it all. Matter of fact, let's grab that real quick. This is the book of Ecclesiastes 3. It says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Right? It says a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. Right now, mourning represents what? Sackcloth. That's why the scripture says it's better to go to the house of mourning than to the house of feasting, because the living will lay it to his heart, right? Sorrow is better than laughter, the scripture says, man. I must go here. Verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. Right now, we're not in the time of love. This is not a time of peace. When we're going to Matthew 10, I believe in 34, hey, Yahweh Shai said, I come not to send peace, but a sword. Hatred is at an all-time high, and it's going to get worse. War is at an all-time high, and it's going to get worse. We see the price of gas going up. We see the price of housing going up. Everything is at an increase, and the quality of life is continually decreasing, which is going to cause people to do what? Crash out. Right? Allow a person, hey, who only got $5 or who are negative in their account, go to work and they tell them, yeah, where AI is going to replace your job. Somebody that hears that is going to lose it, man. They're going to lose it. They're going to lose it. Right? They going to fight their boss or whoever's in charge. This is the time that we're in. It's about to get very ugly. When people can't eat, hey, the apostles always said, allow a person to miss 3 meals. Right? And that's just a day's worth of meals, quote unquote. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which we understand. Hey, that was something that Esau himself made up. But nevertheless, these people live by it. Right? Allow that person to miss that day a meal and have no hope of eating the next day. That's when they go into the grocery stores, they loot, right? They march on the street, they start burning stuff, right? And then when it gets to the point where the government has to come in, right? The military, what happens? They fight against their military. Civil unrest, civil war. People not being able to pay their bills is going to cause people to crash out, man. Telling them that they kids ain't going to have a roof over their head, that their kids ain't going to be able to eat. But this is what E is engineering. That's why the scriptures tell us, for we are not ignorant of Satan's devices, man. Because this is all leading down into UBI under the MOTB system. All right, so I'm going to finish this. It says, and the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. All the daughters of music shall be brought low. Right? And we already understand that Haggai 1:6 is occurring. Because we spoke about people not having enough. Haggai 1:6, it says, ye have sown much and bring in little. Ye eat, but ye have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Right? Reading in NLT, you have planted much, but harvest little. You eat, but you are not satisfied. You drink, but you are thirsty. You put on clothes, but cannot keep warm. Your wages disappear as though you were putting them in pockets filled with holes. And that's what we're seeing, right? Your money not being able to stretch as long or as much as it once did, right? Because the economy is going to shits. And this is all engineered by Esau Edom, man. So-called white man and woman. I'll finish this out and I'll just show these other topics on the same, or it's like I'll show these other articles based off the same topic. It says AI deployment remains targeted for now, focusing on areas like customer service, transaction monitoring, and trade oversight. Citigroup is rolling out conversational AI avatars for wealth management guidance, and Barclays has used generative AI to summarize millions of customer calls, yielding efficiency gains without immediate job losses in those functions, right? It says without immediate job losses. So they understand that it's still picking up data. The AI algorithm is still learning the field, so to speak. So these immediate job losses will turn into permanent job losses, right? Or it's like these without immediate job losses are soon going to turn into actual job losses. It says uncertainty looms for workers at all levels, all levels. So it don't matter how many degrees you got. It don't matter what certifications you have. Uncertainty looms for all workers at all levels, with middle office roles seen as particularly vulnerable to this wave of automation. Come on, man. While some leaders discuss retraining, practical implementation remains unclear and concerns persist about potential discrimination risk and layoffs. Many graduates face a tougher path into the sector, prompting some to delay entry with further studies, right? So they just think, oh, well, if I get another degree or another certification, I'll be able to land that job, which you just putting yourself into more debt and trying to, abide in the system. So that's the end of that article right there, but I have this one as well. It says AI remains top reason for US job cuts for third straight month as employers axed 97,000 workers in May. Right? So you're going to see, families shucking together, living together, right? Because rent for one place is going to be too expensive, right? Isaiah 401 is going to come into play, right? Because these proud ass women, hey, these hoes going to lose their position because when you take a look at the markets in which women work in, right? Regardless of how mad they get, right? The same roles that women have had from the beginning of time, for roles dealing with, raising up children, or teaching, or being helps inside medical institutions, so forth and so on. Hey, they've kept those jobs from the beginning, right? You take a look at the role of a woman. What, she's the first teacher for the children, right? So she's nurturing, or supposed to be nurturing, right? She's a teacher. Well, take a look at the roles that women have today. It's either in the aesthetic industry, nails, hair, which is all pampering, a pampering industry, or an industry in which when individuals only have disposable income, do they actually utilize that industry? Because guess what? When people don't have an extra $200, $350, you know what women ain't going to be doing? They're not going to be getting their nails done. They're not going to be buying bundles of hair, right? They're going to be using that money in order to eat, for their kids to get Pampers, right? So women reign in the industries of nursing. They reign in customer service industries and those disposable income industries, doing hair, doing nails, doing makeup, doing eyelashes, eyebrows, what do you call it? Waxing, right? Those jobs, hospitality industries such as maids. Well, guess what? All those industries are directly tied to the amount of income, disposable income that people have. So when these markets are shut down because these robots can do those jobs, women get what? Humbled. Now they're okay with a man dealing with three of them, as long as they have a roof over their head, as long as they have food on their table. So this is another article. Mark Lore's robots make 500 burrito bowls an hour. A human can only make 45. So right there. And guess what? It's going to portion your food exactly how they set the algorithm up to do it. Right? So there goes your Chipotle in that service industry. Right? There goes your Kava. Right? So forth and so on. Driverless trucks are here, and they're delivering bags of Doritos. PepsiCo has rolled out significant fleet of autonomous trucks, marking a major milestone in the adoption of driverless technology for commercial goods transport in the U.S. Hey, and we seen automated truck, automatic SUV yesterday at camp, pulled up right next to us, man, as we're preaching. It says in Phoenix, a 26,000-pound box truck loaded with Doritos and other Frito-Lay products departs a distribution center for a nearby Walmart, navigating public roads without a driver at the wheel. PepsiCo is operating 35 such driverless trucks in Arizona, with 5 more in Texas and 1 in Arkansas. So we see that this is headed, right? We see where it's headed, man. And that trucking industry is huge. Without individuals, bringing forth those trucks into cities, people starve, right? The grocery store only has, 3 days of supply? But this is where we're at, man. You know, the AI automation takeover, man. It's no slowing down either. So, that was the point of the lesson. Lord willing, it was edifying unto the body. I want to give all praise and glory and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah HaKodash. A double honors unto the apostles and elders of JMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yakim, bringing out this word and diligence and in truth. Shalom.